tragedy of the Torino. Its own success as a broad, versatile platform is exactly what kept it from becoming a singular icon. Add to this the fact that the Torino name itself changed meaning almost every generation. A totally different car in 1968, a totally different car again by 1972. A GTO buyer in 1970 was buying into decades of consistent branding. A Torino buyer was buying into whatever the nameplate happened to mean that particular year. Muscle car legends aren't built on production numbers. They're built on stories, movie cameos, drag strip folklore, magazine cover shootouts, a nickname that sticks. The GTO had The Judge. The Chevelle had its street racing reputation cemented by decades of pop culture references. Even the Plymouth Roadrunner leaned into cartoon branding that made it instantly memorable. What did the Torino get? A solid reputation as a NASCAR-winning body style, genuinely true. Ford's Aero Warriors dominated stock car racing around this era, but that story lived in the world of racing enthusiasts, not mainstream car culture. It never crossed over into the kind of mass-market mythology that turns a car into a poster on a teenager's bedroom wall. Even the King Cobra Aero package, developed to fight Chrysler's wing cars on the superspeedways, got shelved before it ever reached showrooms, killing off what might have been the Torino's single best shot at a genuine halo moment of its own. Ford simply never built the cultural monument around the Torino GT that its sales numbers arguably earned it. And without that monument, memory fades. Numbers on a spreadsheet don't survive 50 years. Stories do. It doesn't help that Hollywood never picked the Torino GT the way it picked its rivals. Decades later, it would take a Starchy and Hutch throwback to even put the Torino name back in front of a mainstream audience. And even then, it was the flashier 1976 model getting the attention, not the 1970 GT we're talking about today. By the time pop culture circled back around to muscle cars in the 1990s and 2000s revival wave, the GTO and Chevelle had already been cemented as the default answer. The Torino GT simply wasn't part of the conversation by the time that conversation restarted. Here's where it gets almost unfair. Go look at today's collector market, and you'll see this forgotten status priced directly into the metal. A 1970 Torino GT in solid condition today trades somewhere in the range of $22,000 to $45,000. A comparable 1970 GTO, $45,000 to $90,000. Roughly double for a car that Ford's own sales figures prove Americans wanted less of in 1970. Think about how strange that is. The car that lost the sales war in period now commands double the money in the collector world purely because it kept its cultural story alive while the Torino let its story go quiet. This is the clearest evidence in the entire discussion. Market memory, not market performance, decides legendary status.
The Torino GT is dollar for dollar one of the most undervalued muscle cars of the entire era. And that undervaluation exists entirely because Ford forgot to tell people why they should remember it. So here's where we land. The 1970 Ford Torino GT wasn't beaten by a better car. It wasn't beaten by better engineering, better performance, or better sales. It was beaten by silence. Ford's own decision to spend its marketing energy protecting the Mustang's throne instead of building a mythology around the car that was actually outselling everyone. It's a strange kind of automotive tragedy, a sales champion that time simply walked past.